Filipinos. Today I invited an amazing guest speaker, Yumi Samson. She came to Canada when she was a teenager, overcame many language barriers to become a good teacher after graduating from one of the top 500 universities in the world. After watching this video, you will learn several ways to overcome language barriers as well as a clear picture about what it will be like to be a teacher in Canada. Now, let's get started. I'm so proud to introduce Yumi with us today.
Okay, so when I first came to Canada, I think I was 15. Yeah, I was 15 years old. And so at that time, I did understand English, but it was very hard for me to kind of pick up the words because people in Canada, they just speak really fast.
Right.
So, yeah, so like I had to listen to what people said and I had to repeat it in my head slowly. So that's kind of like my experience when I first moved here. And so how I overcame the language barrier was very simple. Basically, my mom did not allow me to be friends with Filipinos because I'm Filipino. So she said, do not be friends with Filipinos. I want you to be friends with non-Filipino speakers.
Right.
And yeah, basically that's what happened to me. I got exposed to a lot of English speakers and I just didn't have a choice but to kind of learn from there. So yeah. I did have a lot of Filipino friends, but I spent more time with those who didn't speak my language.
Okay.
So Filipinos who didn't speak our language. So they were born and raised in Canada. And some of them were raised in Canada, so they came here at a very young age. So they still understand our language. So they kind of taught me, like, this is how you say it, this is how you pronounce the words. And then, so basically I spent grade 9 to grade 12 in that kind of like setting where I was just learning from my friends and obviously interaction with classmates. And then yeah, I went to school, and then when I was in university, I did not have Filipino friends.
Right.
Everyone was non-Filipino, and so you kind of just learn, right? Because otherwise you won't be able to communicate with people. It was very hard because I was kind of in the Filipino community too. I actually have to think about this question.
Yeah, that's fine, don't worry.
Yeah, it was kind of weird because like I came here like trying to fit in, especially in the Filipino community, but then it was very odd and very hard as well because in my church, for example, like I went to a Filipino church, and so what I find is that a lot of people didn't want to be friends with me because an immigrant and I was weird and I spoke different language and like the way I dressed was different and my humor was different. Like we just didn't click. And so that was kind of weird. And so from there, obviously, you don't have a choice. You have to change, or you're never. And so I was in this like transition of like how to be Canadian, even though I didn't really know what Canadian meant, but I kind of just like looked around. What did everyone do? They dyed their hair, so I dyed my hair. What else did they do? This is the kind of clothing that they wore, so I tried to change the clothing that I wore too. I didn't know anything about fashion. I just like pretty much copied and like I thought that was cool, even though it didn't really fit or suit me. And so I tried to like immerse in the culture, but then people looked at me and judged me, or so it felt like, because she just came here, now she's doing this, now she's dyeing her hair. So like there's a lot of like I feel like there was a lot of judgment, especially here in high school. It's like you care about the image, you care about like how people think about you.
Yeah.
And so that was really hard for me. But then it was weird because that only happens when I was with Filipinos. So when I was with non-Filipino, I didn't think about having to, look the same, the specific way, dress a specific way. In fact, when I was in university, I wear sweatpants every single day.
Oh.
I was that girl who wore like large sweatpants and like large sweater. Like I just didn't care at that point anymore. And so yeah, like it was more important for me to create a natural connection where like, you like this, oh, I also like this. So that's kind of like how I started creating connections with people. It's not about like anymore, and it's not about like, how people would think if you're hanging out with this person. For me, it was more like, do we connect because we have certain things that we have in common,
Right.
or connect? So yeah, that's kind of how I transitioned to university.
Right.
Being able to hang out with my students, just enjoying like learning together, because I learn from them. It's not just a one-way experience. It's not just like I'm teaching you and you learn from me.
Right.
But like a lot of things from my students, and that's one of the things that I like about that, because I grew up learning from adults. But you know what? There's a lot of things that you can learn from kids too.
That's true, yeah.
They are very creative.
They are.
They have no fear, and so when they come up with ideas, it's almost like limitless. And so because they have no fear, it's very inspiring. You know what I mean? They're not afraid of trying new things. They're not afraid of failing. They're not afraid of like a lot of different things that adults are very, very afraid of. And so I'm learning how to be more courageous when I'm with them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so being able to engage with them and learning from them. I also like the fact that I get to teach them values, like real values, because like, in Canada, teachers are only expected to teach core subjects. But I became a teacher not just to teach core subjects, because I believe in values too. And that's one of the most important things that I try to educate my students with. And just learning about, how do you respect people? How do you budget money? What is money? How do you spend money? Like, I'm very fortunate because my students are grade 6 and 7. So they know basic arithmetic. They know plus, minus. And so just being able to teach them like how to budget, like adding expenses, subtracting, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just other life skills. Like, those are the favorite lessons that I like to give, just teaching them life skills, because I know that, like, what's it called? Theories. You're going to learn that when you become, like, all your life. As a student, you're always going to be learning theories. But how many teachers are willing to teach values?
Yeah.
Not very many. And so I really try to, like, spend at least, like, every single day teaching them at least something, some sort of like golden nugget that they can apply in their life so that they can be more successful in the future. So for me, I have to be at school before, at least half an hour before my starting time, sometimes even an hour before that.
Right.
And the reason why is because I need to prepare. So if there are a lot of worksheets that I need to print, and just imagine a lot of teachers also have to print. So you kind of want to be able to be there just, with enough time to kind of prepare all the materials that you need for the day. I mean, it really depends on a teacher's schedule. So, for example, for me, the first subject in the school, I forget what time we start, 8:30.
Oh, 8:30.
Yeah. So like the first not even 8 o'clock. Yeah. So it's 8 o'clock, but during that 8 o'clock, I have a break. So we call it a prep time. So another teacher is teaching my class during that time. And so even though I have a break during that time, I still go earlier because sometimes teachers are using the printer during that time. And so I just want to make sure that I have everything. And so if I'm not printing things, I am writing lessons. So whatever I'm going to teach that day, or even the day after, or like just preparing for future lessons or whatever. If I'm not preparing, I'm grading assignments.
Right.
If I'm not grading assignments, we can go on and on. What's it called? I'm thinking of like what assignments to give them. I'm thinking of other ways how I can teach a specific thing. And so it's like, yeah, we get prep times, but at the same time, it's not really a downtime because now you have a lot of, even if let's say I finished all my markings for today, or yesterday I already finished all my markings, there are still a lot of things that we have to do, because for us to be able to teach a 45-minute lesson, first of all, we need to learn what that is. So we need to learn what we're teaching. We need to find different ways of teaching that. We need to find different examples so that we can show students how to do it. And what's it called? We need to learn a little bit more just in case kids ask questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you're lucky and you're teaching the same grade every year, then you learn more and you kind of become pro at it. But if you're not lucky and if you're teaching different grades every year, then you're basically learning different things every single year. And so it's kind of like you starting from scratch all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, addition is like for example, you know, the goal is to teach kids how to add, let's just say. So knowing the goal for that week or for that day, what they need to learn, and then finding ways, okay, so how can I teach addition? How many examples and what kind of examples? Am I going to be using materials like add one thing and then another thing? Or am I going to give examples on the board? Am I using, you know, like chalk and board method? Or am I going to be doing like a practice with them where like they, you know, do it with a partner and then they work together? Or like, am I going to do it with technology? Are they going to go on, you know, a website and then they get to practice? Like, there's tons.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, just addition. And so there's a lot of things. I'm an English teacher, so we're doing novel studies too.
Oh,
so
wow.
if I'm teaching 2 grades, and so if both grades are reading a novel, then I need to read those 2 novels. And then I also, so think of it this way. When we give homework, we also need to answer those homeworks. It's not just like, oh, this is your homework and I'm going to mark it. No. We also need to answer them and then find different answers, find different examples. And what I find with English language arts, it's a lot harder. It's not like math where one answer is everything is wrong. Like in language arts, if you ask them to write a paragraph, there are different ways that they're going to write a paragraph. And so you really need to know what it's about, because if not, then you're not going to be able to mark it properly. And that's also another issue, because they're all writing different ways, grading it can be a little complicated.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like a student can have a really strong content, but spelling is there. A lot of spelling error, a lot of grammatical error. But a student can also have perfect grammar and perfect, you know, like structure and everything. But then the content is kind of weak. So it's it's a lot of thinking. Like, that's a very good question. Or advice. I think just in general, whatever it is, whatever career you're planning to pursue in life, honestly, my biggest advice is to get to know that career very, very well. And what that is, you know, maybe you're in high school, or maybe you're in you're an elementary student, and you think in your head that, okay, I want to be a teacher, or I want to be a nurse, or whatever profession that you think of. Study that profession, not Googling. Don't just Google. Don't just look at the income. Actually, put yourself in a situation where you can see these people in action. Right? So if you have a relative who's a nurse, ask them to take you to work. You know, during summer, if you don't have anything during summer, go and, you know, volunteer, be an intern. Same thing. If you think you want to be a teacher, put yourself in that situation. Experience it for a week, for a few days, and see what they're doing. And then ask yourself, is that really what I want to do? Interview the teachers. Ask them, you know, what is your day like? What do you do after work? When you get home, you still have to work. You know, what are the things that you think about after work? Because sometimes we just look at the career, but we don't really think about how that would affect our life. Yeah. And so that's also one of the reasons why a lot of people, I think, change their careers and change their education in the middle of, you know, taking a class or a course, because there's a specific idea in your head. At least when I was younger, in my head, I thought like, oh, teacher, great, they get a summer off. Like literally, that was a thing. And I'm gonna be a teacher because they get a summer off. But then I didn't really know much about teaching. I didn't really know how they live. I didn't really know what kind of life they had. And so when I started being in the teaching field, I get to experience it. And I realized how much work you have to do to be a teacher. So even if you don't get paid in the summer, it's like we deserve to get paid in the summer because we bring work home. Yeah. You know, like just because we go home doesn't mean, well, not necessarily doesn't mean, but like sometimes we end up bringing work home. Like during weekends, a lot of teachers are grading, a lot of teachers are preparing. And so like really asking people in that profession and kind of like finding information based from their experiences. Ask them questions. You, that person, what do you like about what you do? What do you not like about what you do? Would you change your career if you can? And just like learning from people's experiences. And if you really think, if you get to experience it, and then if you get all these answers from the people that you've interviewed, and you really think that that's really what you want, and you've accepted everything about that, right, then go for it. Yeah. And like find out how you want your life to look like, because that's the only way for you to really make a decision. You know what I mean? Like if you like summers off, then find something that will give you summers off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not because of the career, because of the title. Because, I mean, title is not the only thing that you should be considering. There's more to like title. And I feel like a lot of us, we kind of get blinded by the idea of like, oh my gosh, she's a lawyer. Oh my gosh, he's a doctor. But like we're only seeing the surface. We don't really see what's happening behind the curtain, right? And so really not judging people based on the title, but judging them based on like how do they, are they happy being a doctor? Do they really, like, you know what I mean? So remember, you're gonna be doing this for a long time. You're gonna be working for a long time. So you need to find something that goes with your personality and that goes with the life that you want. Because if you don't want that life, then you're gonna be miserable for a long time.
Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I hope you find what in the video helpful, no matter who you are, where you are from, what your gender is. As long as you believe in yourself and you work real hard to achieve what you want in life, success will come to you naturally. And please consider subscribing to my channel because I will come back with more helpful videos about personal growth, computer science, and time management. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good day, a good week, and a good life ahead. Bye bye.